What's up, my clickers? Welcome to the Schmoes Show. I'm the infamous Orion, and I am sick. Please excuse
I'm
my
Cairo,
voice.
and I am not, but I am a schmo.
That's worse than being sick. That means you're sick in the head.
Just like every day.
Mm-hmm. And welcome to the Schmoes Shows, ladies and gentlemen. It has not been a week. Well, I mean, I've been sick all week, so I don't know. I don't like January because January is like the slowest month of the year. Nothing happens in January.
It does drag.
Yeah. What's a bro got to do to get some controversy around here? Can we have like some dumb celebrity just do something wrong, please?
It's I don't know. If you want controversy, I have some controversy for you.
Hit me.
Allegedly, Elon Musk might be doing something right with Twitter.
Oh, the ad thing?
No.
Go on.
They have changed the way that the home feed is formatted, where before, when you're on the Twitter homepage, you would have a little button in the top corner that you could pick that would change between a chronological list of everybody that you follow on their tweets, or it would switch to the sort of algorithmic one that does its algorithm stuff and also shows you things that it thinks you might like.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They've changed that, so then rather than it being a little button at the top corner that you can press to switch between them, there is a header that has both of those feeds always there, and you pick which one you want at the top. Initially, people were upset by this because it always defaulted to showing you the algorithmic feed, and you would have to press, you just have to, it's literally press a button, but it's annoying when you do it 5 or 6 times a day. You have to press the button to go to the chronological feed. As part of a response to people's talking about how they didn't like that, Elon Musk said that they had heard that and that they were aware that was a problem. They already have a fix for it that they're working on, but they wanted to get the format layout pushed out first. And soon, whenever soon is, it'll go back to how it was, where it'll stay on whatever feed you last picked before. So if you're on the chronological feed before, it'll stay on the chronological feed when you open it next, and you won't have to press the button to go back. In addition to that, he also announced that when that change, or soon after that change, sometime soon, you will also be able to make custom feeds in Twitter where you can pick specific accounts that you want to show up, and it will show only those accounts in its own list.
So it sounds like to me that Elon didn't come up with that idea himself.
Probably not. But, you got to give some amount of credit where credit is due, right?
A broken clock is right twice a day.
Exactly. And it's a cool thing. If they do that, I could easily see that being something that I would use. You take like all the pet picture channels and shove them off into their own corner. I can take all the magic stuff and shove it off into its own corner. Stuff like that. It'd be kind of neat. I don't know.
It kind of is like what I do with trends, or topics. That too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be like topics, but you have a bit more control over it yourself.
I would love that.
So if that happens, it might be the first good change to happen until Twitter since he became CEO.
Go, Elon, go. Prove me wrong. Anything else? Yeah.
Let's say in non-controversial news, we got good news about Jeremy Renner.
Yay? Question mark?
Yeah. He's finally... Jeremy Renner, of course, back around the new year, had an accident when he was plowing his and his neighbor's driveways out up in his very expensive home in the mountains of California. And he ended up being run over by his own plow and was rushed to the hospital with severe injuries. He is now no longer neither in critical condition nor in intensive care, and he has moved into sort of like physical therapy now.
Hell yeah.
Had over 30 broken bones.
Ooh,
part of the accident. It was very bad.
that's more bones than I thought we had.
Yeah, like a good way to think like, oh, how bad is that? That is more bones than you have ribs. It's easy to break ribs. It's not so easy to break the not ribs. So yeah, not good.
Hmm.
So, but it's good. He's doing well, it seems. He's in like physical therapy now. He's getting back around to not being on the brink of death. So that's good.
I do like it when people aren't dying.
Yeah. He posted a picture. I remember it was like 4 days after the accident. He posted a picture on his Instagram of him with some of the hospital staff that was basically just like, "I'm not dead. Thank you for all the support and well wishes." And he looked like shit. You remember that?
I do remember that.
He has since posted other pictures where he doesn't look great, but he looks a hell of a lot better. He doesn't look like he is going to die if you breathe on him too hard. So that's good.
This man survived Thanos, but he couldn't survive a plow.
Yeah, right.
I feel awful saying that. But go Jeremy Renner. Go
Yeah.
get out of that hospital. Go do shit.
In much less good news.
Oh,
As it is another day in America, we have had another mass shooting.
god damn it.
Currently, 10 people reported as having died and 10 others in critical injury in the hospital. Suspect is still not been there at large. This was over in California. Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
Obviously, not good. Very likely, it seems, judging by the fact that we're coming into the Chinese New Year and that this was an Asian community, uh, likely believed to be racially motivated. Probably a hate crime.
I mean, how do you justify as anything but a hate crime?
Yeah,
That's absolutely abhorrent.
absolutely is.
Thoughts and prayers.
Last big piece of, not really big, but interesting piece of news before we get into the real exciting stuff. Trump's been ordered by a federal judge to pay. Oh, I had the number here. It's 937,989 and 39 cents to Elena Haba Madeo and Associates. Oh no, sorry, they're jointly liable. Part of it's getting paid to Hillary Clinton for the bogus lawsuits they were filing against her as well as many other people. Federal
Man,
judge basically came down and was just like, no, that's obviously frivolous use of the legal system. Pay $1 million in legal fees to these people and fuck off.
do not collect $200. Do not pass go.
Yeah. Mr. Trump's deliberate use of a frivolous lawsuit for an improper purpose constitutes bad faith.
It amazes me that he just gets away. Like, he thought he could get away with just doing whatever he wants with the legal system.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you
Oh
wonder.
yeah, so this was part of the bullshit RICO stuff that he was trying to file,
Mm,
where it's just like obviously wrong.
if you keep repeating it, repetition legitimizes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Apparently, they opened it up with this case should have never been brought, which is very nice, Mr. Federal Judge person. I appreciate your candor.
Thank you.
This is actually quite good. This case should never have been brought. Its inadequacy as a legal claim was evident from the start. No reasonable lawyer would have filed it. Intended for a political purpose, none of the counts of the amended complaint stated a cognizable legal claim. 31 individuals and entities were needlessly harmed in order to dishonestly advance a political narrative. A continuing pattern of misuse of the courts by Mr. Trump and his lawyers undermines the rule of law, portrays judges as partisan, and diverts resources from those who have suffered actual legal harm. Excellent.
That is actually
Right
pretty
to the
good.
point.
That's why you don't do frivolous fucking lawsuits, people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Our legal
And
system takes so much money as it is. We don't need you hogging it.
Yeah, eventually it comes back around. Quick side tangent.
Yo.
Weird ads on Rotten Tomato today.
Oh, good. Tell me more.
I'm getting ads for Etsy for some reason that are primarily jewelry related, and I don't know why, but a picture of the royal family prior to the Queen's death that is for sale on Etsy for some reason.
Fucking what?
I don't know. I don't want to click on it though. I don't want to make let them win.
Jewelers have been targeting me as well. There's this fucking place called Jensen Jewelers that gives me targeted ads every time I pull up YouTube. Really
Mm-hmm.
fucking sick of it. I don't know what they think we're doing, but I have no need for a ring at the moment. Or are they at
So,
least
would
pretty
you?
rings? My apologies.
Oh no, not at all.
Oh,
It's trash. It's apparently Valentine's stuff coming up, which yeah, I guess, but
oh
yeah, it's
my
all
god, I'm so
garbage.
fucking dense. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, it all looks like trash. I mean, it's Etsy, right?
Baroque,
There's
grotesque.
a bar.
Yeah. Thanks, Etsy.
Getting interesting stuff though. Do you want to start with Puss in Boots or The Last of Us?
Uh, well, I feel like there's going to be more of a discussion with The Last of Us, so I guess I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to do a one-sided review of Puss in Boots.
Sure.
So my girlfriend and I went to Puss in Boots last night, and I think that may be where my cold started getting elevated. Um, but it is a really decent movie. It's good. It's a little derivative, but I think it is definitely worth going to see in theaters,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
especially if you're a Shrek fan.
Mm-hmm. There's probably one or two of those out there.
On the internet, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
It
I've
does take a
heard.
lot of heavy inspiration from the Spider Verse,
Yeah.
and my girlfriend kind of hated that about it.
Really?
Well,
Huh.
her words is there is only one Spider Verse, so why bother trying to, you know, chase
Yeah.
after it?
I guess. I don't know. I have a so personally, I feel like it's subtle, but from everything that I saw of it, and I haven't seen the full movie, of course, but
Yeah,
just in like trailers and clips I've seen online, it does seem to have uh a different enough style for it to differentiate itself. Whereas the Spider Verse is very I don't know what to call it. It makes use of the I'm not an artist, right? So I don't know the right words for it, but I know how to visualize it because the way that they have the layers set up
yeah,
and how the layers bleed into each other.
yep,
Spider Verse does it generally with more hard lines, like you would see in a comic book,
yep.
where there's hard lines that show the boundary between two objects, two walls, person in the background. It sort of bleeds over with those lines, and it gives that sort of like pop out look from it where the Puss in Boots movie
It's
does the
softer.
same idea,
Yeah,
but it does it softer. Yeah, it's more jagged, where it's like a hand drawn rather than a computer drawn look to it, and it's the same effect, and it uses the same bright colors to help accentuate that pop to the 2D art,
yep.
but it does it in that different enough style that I wouldn't call them the same.
There's this really nice trick they do. I don't think you can see it in the trailers, but you see it a lot more in the
Mm-hmm.
movie. The highlights are in the eyes are a paintbrush stroke.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of cute that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my opinion, this movie doesn't do anything too original, but it does it well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Um, I have some minor complaints. Like, I really fucking hate it when kids' movies put auto tune on the singer's voice.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that is unfortunate.
First 5 minutes, you hear auto tune, which I can forgive to some extent, but fucking stop. It does not
It
age
kills the
well.
vibe.
It kills the vibe a lot. Um, because it automatically, because the characters are singing, it takes me out of thinking this is diegetic music, and I know it's like just ADR.
Mhm.
Um, Following that, there is the case of four characters: Goldilocks and the Three Bears, who are in the movie,
Mhm.
and they do the just right joke with
Okay.
like various objects like seven times throughout the movie. I fucking hate that.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
Yeah. There'll be like going up to objects like this one's too hard. This one's too soft. This one, that's just right. Which makes me realize what the fuck are they doing here if you can't write anything original for them?
Wait, it's the same thing with like the shitty goat joke thing that they had in Thor.
You are 100% on the fucking money.
I
Oh my
don't
god.
get how that's become popular. It's so weird.
It's like a weird form of anti humor, which it's not even that funny anti humor.
Like if it was like 2010, maybe it would
Lol,
work.
I'm so quirky kind of moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like 10 years too late, and they do it like from the sounds of it in that one too, like three times too many.
Like it would
Like
have
you
been,
can't keep telling the same joke and expect it to land every time.
it was weird because the whole thing is like, I'm trying to find the right words for it. You know it's coming when you first see them, but
Hmm.
then every time it happens, you die a little inside.
Do they ever have like a payoff for it where like someone else butts in and like plays off the joke in some meaningful way, or is it
No,
just always the same? That's unfortunate.
this movie feels like it went through one too many drafts. Like I want to
Yeah.
believe there's like two drafts ago, this movie would have been better.
Hmm.
Um, because there is instances of a really good joke landing, but then they feel they need to throw back to that later in the movie, which I would have rather you just let the joke land and we just sit on it. That's it. You don't need to re-reference a good joke.
Hmm.
Like so, one of the characters is an abandoned dog.
Okay.
And then they're like, "So, dog, do you have a name?" He's like, "Oh, I go by many names. I go by good boy, bad boy, sit, stay, go get the ball, or in some cases, shithead." But they bleep out shithead because kids movie.
Yeah.
That caught everybody in my theater off guard. It was like one of those shock laughters.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah. Um, and then there's a interrogation scene where the dog's getting interrogated, and then he just keeps calling everybody a shithead. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't land as well when you do it a second time. The first time
No,
you
it
caught me off
doesn't.
guard. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, I
I guess that's always the problem with kids' movies, is that they do lean into the sort of cheap jokes like that because they think they can get away with it because it's a kids' movie.
it was kind of cheap. I'm not gonna lie. Like there are
Yeah.
good jokes. There's a character I did not see in any of the trailers who's really good.
Hmm.
Jack Horner. Um, Based off the famous nursery rhyme, which I'm pretty sure I'm the only one in my whole movie theater who knew that rhyme. Do you know the Jack Horner?
Really?
Yeah.
Jack Horn? Is it like the candlestick one?
No. It is.
Okay, then no.
Here you go, everybody. Here's your trivia. They say it in the movie, but I was kind of reciting it to myself because I knew that name from somewhere.
Hmm.
Little Jack Horner sat in a corner eating eating a kind of pie, a plum pie. He stuck
Okay.
his thumb into the pie and said, what a good boy am I?" And he's basically Donald Trump in the movie. And they do this really cute thing, like you know how Pinocchio is in the Shrek movies?
Yeah.
So you have Jiminy Cricket in this movie, and they explain where the fuck he's been since Pinocchio's never seen with him in all the Shrek movies. And it's because he's this guy's consciousness in this world. And his conscience is failing miserably because this dude, again, is just like some Donald Trump levels of evil. It is absolutely hilarious what this dude does throughout the movie. It plays off my morbid humor.
Hmm.
Um, the main villain is really good in this movie. I will say that. I knew this movie was going to be about confronting death, and I expected more on that message, but it's a kids' movie, so I can't really blame that. Yeah, I think my main problem with this is that it kind of punches down to its audience, and I wish it would punched up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it is a good movie. Also, it pretty much confirms Shrek 5 is happening, so look forward to that.
Interesting. Are they planning on doing it in more of like a traditional Shrek style?
I do
I
not
would
know.
assume.
So the basic, it's literally like the last 5 seconds of the movie, no end credits or anything like that.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
they're on a boat, and they literally go across like this small little ocean, and Puss says, "I need to go visit some friends," and then it starts playing the Far Far Away theme.
Interesting.
Yeah. Shrek and Donkey are also in the movie for like 1 millisecond.
Just like a frame.
It's literally like 2 frames. Just to see them move very slightly so you know they're alive, and that's it. And it's
Excellent.
like in this really, it's in a like a really fast montage where Puss has like his whole life flash through his eyes,
Yeah.
and they're redoing like a Hakuna Matata.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I eagerly await Shrek 5. So should we get to the big one?
Yeah. Detective Knight Independence. Final movie in the trilogy.
About time, really. I've been wanting
Mm-hmm.
resolution to this plotline for a while.
I vaguely remember us talking about the other movies in this series just because it's just like part of the Bruce Willis lore.
Oh my god. It amazes me how much of our podcast is actually consumed by Bruce Willis.
I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch, not rewatch, watch the earlier ones because I just like literally laugh them off because of how bad they looked. One thing that I think is hilarious is that if you look in the reviews for them on every single one of these movies, you can find critics that say that this of the three movies is their favorite.
Yeah.
Whether it's just like the last one, this is the final movie in the trilogy and the best, or this is the first one and the best. It's just like very amusing.
Is
It's
there
the
Oh sorry.
I say it's the B movie critics Lord of the Rings.
Is there such thing as a trilogy series where the third is the best?
Where what?
A film trilogy where the third movie is the best.
I'm sure there has to be.
I mean, I can say like No Way Home, but that's still part of the greater MCU.
Um, third is the best. I would argue that for the Bourne movies, the third one was the best.
Mm. I suppose depending on your taste in acting, the third Karate Kid is the best. Have you ever seen the third Karate Kid movie?
I feel like I've seen the second one.
Okay, the second one is better than the third. The third is
Okay.
objectively dog shit, but there is
Yeah.
like some really stupid over the top acting in the third that I just absolutely love.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a third in a trilogy that I would say is the best, but I haven't seen the Bourne movies. Um, Captain America, but still MCU.
Yeah. I think that's more fair though. How it well, I always have like which ones are the I gotta make sure I get this right. Cause I always mess up which is which in the Captain America series. Yeah, because they count Civil War as a Captain America movie.
Yeah, even though
And
it's kind of
I
not, but like,
yeah.
yeah. Logan. in the Wolverine
The
trilogy.
Wolverine trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitively the best Wolverine movie.
That is not a false statement.
uh, let's see. Any more like good ones? Definitely not fucking Return of the Jedi. Not Return of the Jedi at all.
There's just like a good list of movie trilogies. I'm curious. Yeah, five.
Austin Powers 3. Now, I don't think it's the best one, but I will say I've seen that movie more times than any human should.
Interesting. This list I found has the first three Mission Impossible movies.
Only the first three?
And I was going to say, of the first three, the third is probably the best, but only because it has 10 years of cinematography experience over the others. But the ones that have come after it are far better.
I guess you can say the prequel trilogy. This.
Here's a good one.
Oh,
The
sorry.
Blade trilogy.
No. No. Just no. Google wants to say Harry Potter 3 is the best of its trilogy.
Its trilogy, yeah. I've not even heard of some of these. What a weird list.
Isn't it weird?
Oh, Pirates of the Caribbean. And that's not a trilogy either, but I know a lot of people would like to think that the movies after the third one don't exist.
Wait, there's a fourth Pirates of the Caribbean movie?
I think they made five. Yeah,
Yeah.
they made five of them.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They had On Stranger Tides was the fourth, and Dead Men Tell No Tales was the fifth.
And those two movies are so weird because they have absolutely nothing to do with the other three.
Nope. Oh yeah, there we go. Indiana Jones.
Oh, we're just taking three out of that one?
Yeah, the first three. This is a terrible list. This isn't trilogies. These are just movies that have had at least three films.
God.
Unless this was like, how old is this? It doesn't seem like it was that old, but there's a lot of old stuff in here. No, this is 2022.
Oh no, that's bad.
They're just wrong. But yeah, The Last of Us.
Oh yes, we did watch that. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we should preface this with the audience expectations.
Yes. Yeah.
I have never played The
So,
Last of Us games. I know nothing about The Last of Us.
yep.
Meanwhile, my friend here, how many times have you
Yeah.
played them?
Probably a dozen times. I have played the first The Last of Us at least a dozen times, and I've gone through part two at least twice. So I know the story in the game, inside and out, front to back. 100% of both of them on PlayStation.
God damn.
Yeah.
So one of us is a little more experienced than the other.
Yeah.
Uh, do you want to take the lead, or tell me a little bit about what The Last of Us
Um,
means to you?
yeah, so I don't mind taking it. The big thing for me is that The Last of Us is
He died. We lost him, ladies and gentlemen. Now you get to hear my hoarse voice. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank God for the pause button on OBS.
yeah,
So,
brief hiccup there.
so tell me more about your experience of The Last of Us, my good sir.
Okay, where did it cut off? Because
We
I
didn't
kept
get.
talking for a bit there.
We did not get anything out of your mouth.
Okay. Yeah, so I played both games a lot.
Hmm.
The first one especially a lot, right?
Okay.
Um, the main thing for me that I am hoping to see out of the show that makes the games, that elevated them to the status that they have as being such like a high bar that they have in the games industry, is the way that they use the character interactions. Right, it's very often seen as just like a zombie game because it's got zombies and you shoot zombies and you kill zombies and you're trying to cure everyone from the zombies. But the main focus of the game isn't on any of that. It's on the relationships between the people in it, between Ellie and Joel and his brother, and Joel and the people he meets, and Ellie and the people they meet. And it's that interaction between the individual characters that I'm looking to see replicated. And so far, it's been mostly good. There's a couple of specific spots, things that I want to talk about after we give your sort of general thoughts, but like probably it is still good. And the only real problem that I have with it is from the pacing in the very start of it, in the first episode. I think they did a really good job, and the actor who played Joel's daughter, Sarah, was phenomenal throughout it. But they added so many little details into it that only take like 10-20 seconds to show, right? But there's so many of them that it adds up to that introduction being like double the length it would have been than it needed to be. And for me, it kills the tension that they have in.
Yeah, I kind of agree that there is this weird pacing to it. It feels like when we start off, there is this weird, like, little guess what, gang? Fungus zombies are among us. And that little, like, news report thing, is that even in the games at all? Like, anywhere referenced in there? Like, even, like, in just lore dumps or anything? Mr. Cairo? Did I lose him again? Take three. So glad I pay for my mobile hotspot data on my phone because internet is not wanting to agree with us today. Ain't that right,
Yeah.
Cairo?
HBO doesn't want me to tell my truth.
Well, I'm a journalist. I'm letting you speak your truth right now. Was that
Yeah,
fucking interview at all in the games?
not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. And it that is the big part of the pacing that I really disliked, was that there was a lot of stuff like that that just wasn't there in the first place, that made it just doesn't need it, right? Like, I am of the opinion that because this is it's character focused, right? You don't need to know how the zombies work. It's fun little background information that you can like tell somebody when they also get interested in it, like, oh yeah, did you know the virus is based on this thing? But you don't need to know it in the show. It doesn't matter. The point isn't the zombies, it's the people.
I mean, I've played Gen 1 Pokemon. I think I know a mushroom zombie when I see one.
Yeah.
Shout out to my boy Parasect. R.I.P.
Mm-hmm. Lost a real one.
I've lost a real one. Parasect, the Last of Us Pokemon. Um, so yeah, do they, like do they ever set up like lore for the zombies in the original Last of Us, or is it just kind of there?
Not really.
Really?
No, it's just there. The zombies just happen. And they don't have like the whole scene where they have Sarah go to the neighbors, the religious neighbors, doesn't happen at all. The way
Really?
that the game opens up is it starts with Sarah meeting Joel as he gets home from work, gives him the watch, sends her to bed. Hours later, Sarah wakes up to some explosion, and she's going around, and you can see the explosions like out the bedroom window, and one of the TVs is on, and it has like the no signal cut screen to it. And there's a really good bit where you actually in the game play as Sarah for the start that helps build that agency in it. And rather than it having being the neighbors that show up, Joel, when Sarah gets down to the first floor, Joel runs in, slams the door behind him, And Sarah was like freaked out. It's like, what's going on? And he says something that's just, it's just generic. It's just like the whatever neighbor name is. Something's not right with them. And the neighbor runs up, slams into the sliding glass door, and Joel pulls. Joel doesn't have a wrench in here. He just has a fucking gun
Yeah.
because it's Texas. Pulls his gun out and he says something like, "Jimmy, stop right there! Don't come in here!" And Jimmy runs through the fucking glass plate window, and just that little brief interaction, it happens over like probably 15 seconds, very clearly tells you something is wrong. This is not normal. They're gonna have to protect themselves. And Joel shoots the guy right in his house.
Okay.
And that really quick pacing of it that just builds tons of tension and unknown factors was what really sold it for me. And that felt like it was missing. It's still good, and they did a couple of things that for people who had played the game were actually sort of welcome changes, in particular with how their car is crashed by like the plane crashes out of the damn sky.
Yeah.
In the game they get T-boned.
Oh.
So if you played the game, you're watching that scene waiting for the other car to smack into them, only for a fucking plane to drop out of the sky. And it's a welcome, because it functionally does the same thing. Crashes their car, stops them from going anywhere. But it does change it enough to sort of keep the tension a bit.
Yeah.
So, the scene right after that, where Tommy gets cut off from Joel and Sarah. In the game, they stay together, and Tommy is just sort of kiting along with them, shooting the zombies as they pop up. Instead, they split them up, and you get a nice bit of tension where Joel and Sarah are being chased by one of the zombie guys. And then Tommy pops in later, of course. But it's just little things like that are good changes where they don't really change the pacing of it. It's the things where we see Sarah on her way to school, we see Sarah on her way back from school, we see Sarah in the watch shop. We get this news broadcast from 50 fucking years ago that doesn't really matter that much in the moment. We see Sarah interacting with the neighbors. All that stuff wasn't there. And it just builds and builds and builds. And then there's just too much foreshadowing. Like, the zombies are going to fucking come. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to have 5 times being told the zombies are coming. In my opinion, at least.
One of my favorite things about this opener was when Sarah's at the house with the religious neighbors and she's on the phone. Did you catch Grandma having like a seizure in the background? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like that. That was a
nice. It works for the story they told.
Yeah.
I just prefer the other story more. And that's the key thing throughout it, is that I disagree with the direction that they took, but it is still a very good show on its own.
Yeah. I think this worries more about being a show than it does being an adaptation.
It does seem to at times.
Yeah. It's too early to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm curious for your thoughts, because I have one last piece that was kind of concerning for me actually through it, but I want to wait and hear your thoughts first.
Okay. Yeah. So I really like the atmosphere built up in the beginning. I mean, there is a palpable tension to the actual intro where she's kind of going around and everybody's like, oh shit, things are happening, but we don't know what. Oh shit, things are happening, but we don't know what. That felt pretty realistic to me. What I didn't like is how, what's the good word for this? Because I do think there's a pacing problem there where they set up so much of something's about to go wrong, but it takes too long to pay that off.
Yeah.
I do like Grandma making scary faces at me in the background through a blurred camera. I wish my own grandmother did that. However, every time I tried finding my footing in here, I felt like I was losing it a little bit because I had expectations of like, where do I start seeing the video game elements? What I think I was going through was I was trying to find the cutscenes. Where does cutscenes end and where do they adaptate gameplay? That was something I think was haunting me for a good chunk of this at first. And with a game so story driven where the cutscenes are the gameplays at times,
yeah,
I kind of had to put that aside after a while. In terms of like the sheer story of it all, I saw Sarah and I knew she was going to die. I just knew it. That's something that everybody kind of knows about The Last of Us.
You'd be surprised though, because
Re-
people don't.
really?
Yeah.
It was just like I've seen The Last of
In,
Us like in marketing. I don't see Sarah
yep.
anywhere.
Yep. But you're not wrong, of course. But the thing for a lot of people is that they don't see the marketing, or they don't really look at it that closely. They
Okay.
just know this thing is going to happen, and that Sarah's going to be a part of it. In particular, with the presentation of the show, the I have to go back and double check the game. I think the time jump they have from when Sarah is around to when the actual like main events happen 20 years later isn't that big of a time jump. So for the show, having Sarah die 20 years before, because like the jump from 2003 to 2023 in the show, could easily happen. You know, like she just goes and grows up to be an adult,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely room to have other things work out, but yeah, that obviously is doesn't happen.
As for the characters, I definitely get a lot of lone cub. I'm sorry, lone wolf and cub vibes,
Mhm.
which I
Yeah.
think that's a genius concept. Lone wolf and cub in a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
I fuck with that. Certified infamous Orion will fuck with this. Um, Ellie is a lot more vulgar than I thought, especially coming from a child character.
Yes,
Is
and
she?
that is not true, not nearly to that degree in the game.
That's what I was wondering because, like,
There is, you know, enough times where she's just like, take that motherfucker, or something like that,
yeah,
but not to nearly the extent they portrayed it in the show.
I
It's like, yeah, it's
full
not accurate.
full disclosure, I have a swearing problem. I fucking know this. Ellie
No.
made me realize that my swearing problem is not that bad sometimes.
Yeah. The thing for me is that I wouldn't have minded, paid it too much attention if they didn't just have it, if they used things other than fuck.
Yeah,
Every single swear was fuck. It was fucker, it was motherfucker, it was fuck.
yeah.
There's more swears out there. You can use other swears.
But here's something I'm gonna like counteract you with because I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea that this is a young girl who thinks saying fuck is like the ultimate like thing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I guess.
Not saying I like it, but I say that's pretty realistic.
It wasn't bad in my thought as much as it was just kind of annoying eventually.
I saw it as a little cringe, but I don't mind
Yeah, I guess
cringe in
that's a good
child
way of putting it.
characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
It made me want more. I was really upset there wasn't a second episode.
I agree. I think a second having it be a two-parter, because I was, without giving away too much, with how the show is pacing, I would have expected them to have to put another hour into it to get to where I expected the first episode to end.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it just that slow of pacing?
I think a lot of it has to just do with how much time they kind of wasted at the start, where I feel like if they had taken that like 20 minutes and just gotten rid of it and put it on the end and, you know, sped it up a little bit in between, they easily could have gotten to where I would have expected to be after the first episode. But I guess in their defense, the episodes are longer than I would have expected. They're like an hour and a half almost, rather than just an hour.
So this is me asking a genuine lore question to my friend who's way more versed in The Last of Us than me.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sarah's mom,
Yes.
was Joel married?
I don't know.
Oh,
Her
okay.
mom is never mentioned in the game. It is only ever just Joel and Sarah.
Okay. So I was just wondering that because I felt like that would be something they would exposit on later, but
Mm-hmm.
sounds like they
Yeah.
don't.
No, they don't.
Okay. Okay.
And to the degree where there's a picture, actually I'm not gonna say that because they might show that. And it's a good moment. But yeah, they never show Sarah's mom at any point. It is only Joel and Sarah.
Okay. So do we even know if she's her biological dad or not?
Nope, not necessarily.
I
In the
respect that.
game, visually,
Yeah.
they are a lot more similar.
Okay.
Um, So it's a lot more heavily implied, but it is never explicitly stated.
I kind of respect that.
Yeah.
Because, like, I know Joel and Ellie are probably going to develop a father daughter relationship through all this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lone wolf and cub.
Yep.
So to me, that sets up the expectation that Joel, if Sarah, say Sarah wasn't his biological daughter, that just makes me feel like there is a fatherly instinct in Joel even more than maybe some other people who can only do that to like their biological kids.
Hmm.
So I'm excited for that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I wanted more from Joel, to be honest, but I understand.
Yes.
Like we
That
did,
is one of the big problems that I have.
yeah.
I
I
guess I might as well just talk about it
yeah.
because there's two main things that I have that I think are just wrong.
Okay.
They're wrong in terms of developing the characters and producing the show. And the first one, everybody looks way too well fed.
Really.
Yes, that is one of the big things that they portray through the games is that these militarized zones that everybody, these quarantine zones that people are living in, aren't good, right? They don't show these little hipster looking fucking cafes. They don't show people enjoying their time there. They are brutal and they're controlled absolutely by the military for
So
good reason.
yeah.
Because you can't let anyone in, you can't let anyone out without strict protocols in place to do it. And that positions having that much more strict nature be dominating like they have in the game puts context into place for what Joel and Tess's job is basically, where their whole job is that they run illegal supplies in and out of the quarantine zone.
Okay. Yeah. Like the
And
pills.
having that much,
Yeah.
like the pills, they do guns, and having that very strict, dominating, pressure over them from the establishment, right, helps to give context for how, in terms of the society that they live in, how wrong it is that they're what they're doing.
Objective, like morally, relatively.
Right. Relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Some quarantine zones are better than others, but all of them are either ruled, with an iron fist by the military or are basically lawless and have no control at all. And they sort of
Interesting.
toy with that sort of thin line that they portray them as.
So we will see more of these.
If they continue with the game, we should see at least, I want to say three, at least two, maybe three more examples of what civilization looks like after the apocalypse.
Okay. I'm excited for
Yeah.
that.
And yeah, and they all show, different stages of progression and, collapse, different levels of authoritarianness, different levels of freedom, and what people are striving for. Yeah. So I hope that they continue with that because there is some really important contrasts to be made that helps to develop, like the Fireflies. If everybody's well fed, having kids, being relatively happy, what point does the Fireflies have? What are they offering?
Yeah. So I have another question. The
Mm-hmm.
scene with the little girl who walks in,
Yes. Yes.
game or in the game, or is it wholly original?
Not at all. It is purely meant to be a fake out because that actress, the child actor that they have there, looks far more like Ellie in the game. So if
Okay.
you haven't seen the trailers or any of the promotional stuff, you're meant to think that that is Ellie, and then they fake you out by obviously killing them.
Okay. So that's like they set up the expectation that this could be Ellie, but
Yes.
they don't really tell you where in the timeline it is to really give you the full context.
Yep. It does do a good job of conveying the sort of absolute nature of the quarantine zone, though, where it's like, even a child, if they're positive, they're gonna die. So
That's yeah.
it's effective, but it is original.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
The other big thing that I have a problem with is that in the game, there is a long chase sequence where you, as Joel, along with Tess, are hunting down Robert. And then when you finally get him, you kill Robert.
You know, I was surprised we didn't see much of Robert. They kind of alluded to a personality on him, but when he was a corpse on the floor, I was like, what the fuck?
Yes, they cut a lot of what happens with him out, including the entire cutscene where he's literally begging for his life, trying to convince Joel and Tess to let him go. Like, oh, we can go get the supplies that I sold to the Fireflies back. Come on, let's do it. And then Tess just straight up murders him, while Joel just looks at him with absolute contempt. And I felt like that was really missing because at this point, and really throughout the whole game, Joel is not a good person. A lot of what he does is out of very selfish needs, right?
They
wouldn't.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, they're not going to let someone like Robert just walk away. He crossed them for the last time. They're going to kill him because they're done with him.
I wanted to find where Joel's morality was in this new apocalyptic world when that happened.
Yep.
Because you don't get a sense of who is he in this world other than some guy that, supplies pills.
Mm-hmm.
Which even at the end of the world, I guess that's a pretty not bad crime compared to what other people are probably doing.
No, not so much. It really just felt like to me it was sort of missing the really clear-cut example of Joel is not a good person. And I felt like we didn't get that. We were told that, but we weren't shown it. And I like, it's show don't tell, right?
Yeah.
Having Joel stand there without giving a second's hesitation, excuse me, while his partner in cold blood kills a guy, paints a pretty clear picture of where they stand morally.
Yeah, I would say so. So, I guess it's hard to say because I don't know what we're missing, I feel like there is stuff missing. Like, I feel like they could have explained more of what happened in that 20 years a little bit better,
Yep.
but.
Yep. I'm hoping we're going to get a bit more of that in the next episode. Or I guess maybe even by the third one. Yeah. When they start to introduce a few more characters that know Joel in that interim period. But yeah, having that be such a gap does sort of kill the vibes a bit.
Like, we know Joel's brother is somewhere out in Wyoming, right?
Allegedly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is also a very different change.
Really?
Is that motivation isn't there in the game.
So what's his original motivation?
I don't want to say because potentially we haven't gotten to it yet.
Oh, okay.
And that is why I was expecting it to like push like a half hour further, was to get to that point.
Okay.
Because like right now, for Joel and Tess, Ellie's just cargo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then something changes that relationship. And I'm hoping we get to that point, but I don't know.
Gotcha. So I guess I'm just going to, start spouting some of my ideas right now.
Yes.
Ellie's immune, right?
Yes, Ellie is immune. I'm pretty sure they've confirmed that in the game.
I'm pretty sure they were confirming that as well, but they kept saying.
Or sorry, in the show, because they showed the bite that she had.
Yeah, and they were also talking about like, oh, you're special. You keep doing these testing. You keep passing every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're checking to see if she's turning.
Yeah.
And she's not.
Hooray!
Yay!
She's fun.
Yeah, that is the crux of it. Is that Ellie is immune. The Fireflies have found her, and the Fireflies are trying to move her to a safer location outside of the Boston quarantine zone so that they can continue the experimentation that they're doing to try to figure out why is she immune.
Because
she still tests positive. She still tests positive. We saw that.
Yeah.
But
she's
change. Not turning for some reason.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I fuck with that. Let me think. I've got a lot of questions now. I guess, where do you see like this next episode going without spoiling it or anything like that?
The main thing that I want it to do.
Yeah.
Assuming, God, I genuinely don't know, because a lot of like from where we are in the game, where they are outside the Boston quarantine zone and they are moving to sort of like their next major location, is pretty gameplay heavy with a lot of sort of puzzle type mechanics. The big thing that I'm expecting to do, that I don't think is really a spoiler, is I'm expecting them to more clearly introduce the threat that the zombies present when they're mobile.
Okay.
Because one of the major changes from the game to the show is that in the show, the zombies don't give off spores. In the game, the zombies release huge clouds of spores that if you breathe in, you become infected by them.
Okay.
And that is a very ever present threat to Ellie and Joel and everyone, really, right? Because I guess not for Ellie, of course, because
Yeah.
she's immune to it, but for normal people, they always have to carry a gas mask around to filter out these spores so that they don't breathe them in and get turned just accidentally. So in the game, if you come upon a dead zombie body like they did in the show, that's a big problem if you don't know it's there because you could accidentally ingest spores and start to be infected.
Yeah.
It also does a really good job of showing how the infection itself isn't absolute. If you just breathe in a little bit of spores, you're not going to get turned because your immune system will still stop it. There are pretty clear, or there are not super clear lines between infected or not infected. Whereas in the show, there's only really like the biting transmission kind of crap,
Yeah.
and that makes it, that makes that line very clear. Are you bitten? Yes or no. And if the answer is no, you're probably fine. And that clear line isn't there.
Tread zombie logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting them to sort of flesh that out a bit more in the next episode to explain the threat that is posed by the world that they are in now that they're outside the quarantine zone. And then as they get beyond that next section, start to establish the larger motivation for Joel as the story goes into its sort of like second arc. Second, oh shit, what's the word for it? Just this, the second act. That's the word.
Okay. So we're still very much in the first act.
Very much. Yeah, we had the little prequel teaser intro there that is very sad, but ultimately not super relevant to the larger story. And now they're getting into more of the meat of the story itself.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Did they say how many episodes this season was going to be?
I believe 9.
So,
There are 9 listed on Rotten Tomatoes.
do you think they could reasonably do the whole story of The Last of Us in 9 episodes?
Yes, they should be able to. They're
Okay.
going to have to cut some bits,
Yeah.
and I have an expectation of one bit in particular that they're probably going to cut that I hope they don't because it's very important for the game. But in terms of the general social climate that we live in today compared to like 2012 would be far less welcome.
Really?
And I would not be. Oh yeah.
Now you got me
I don't want to give
curious.
any. I don't want to give anything away because it is by far the darkest part of the game, but it is done for a very important reason and is done well in the game. So I hope they keep it and are just able to adapt it well because it does a really good job of showing how fucked up the world that they live in has gotten.
Oh, I want to know now. Wow.
Yeah.
Ugh. You got me all excited. I'm kind of curious what it could be, but I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
Like, if you had to say, like, what point in the story, like, percentage wise, it shows up.
If it keeps with the current pacing, it would be around episode 7.
Okay, towards the end.
Yeah, very much towards the end.
Huh.
I feel like I don't know how they can skip it, but I feel like it's the kind of thing that they would try to find a way to skip if they could just to make it more palatable in general.
I see.
It's the difference between having video game characters on a screen that have a voice actor behind them, but it's not a real person, and having real people on the screen that you really are having to act this.
Really?
Yeah.
So
And
this has got to be
that's a big
disturbing.
difference. It is a bit. It's
Ah.
very unsettling if they do it right.
Oh. You getting Corey all excited? Oh fuck,
Hmm.
the infamous Orion all
It's
excited.
there's a reason that this game is so well liked. It pushed a lot of boundaries in terms of what type and of story you were, allowed to tell in a video game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to know how something can be so disturbing but so political at the same time.
I don't think I would say political.
Okay.
It's just like general content warning type stuff.
Okay.
And yeah,
Puts the M in the M rating, eh?
very much so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, he's threatening me with a good time, everybody.
You're goddamn right.
Oh god.
And hopefully, now that in very soon here in a couple of months, The Last of Us Part 1 is going to be available to play on PC. And hopefully with that, there'll be no excuse for people not to play the game.
I have a shitty little laptop, thank you very much.
It was released for the PlayStation 3, so I hope that would still run it.
Good question.
I actually don't know. I'd have to look it up. But The Last of Us is there's a reason that when people talk about like what is the best video game of all time, it's a bunch of shit from the 90s and The Last of Us.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh,
And it's pretty amusing to see that contrast, but it is deserved because it is easily one of the best video games of all time. It's impossible not to have it in the discussion. And they've only gone and made it a better game since with the re-releases, adding tons of accessibility options and obviously upgrading it to modern resolution standards. Yeah, a good one.
yeah, it's always been weird to me being an outsider. I just never had the system to play The Last of Us, so
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair.
yeah. I know
Peak
I was
console
missing out
wars.
on something, but I don't know. I've always heard of
Mm.
it as the genesis of the being a dad in a video game genre.
I don't know. It could be just sort of incidentally with how the time worked out, but I'm not sure.
Okay, okay.
So I'm very much looking forward to seeing the rest of the show. It is still, even if it's not 100% what I would have wanted, it's still very good, and I'm happy to see it through.
What was the point in the game where you got hooked to the story?
Oh, right from the start. The if you haven't, I highly recommend looking up the opening of the game where Sarah dies
Okay,
because that absolutely hooked everyone. Like first 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, and you are not getting up for the next 9 hours
I see.
because
Interesting.
it is both. That's the thing is that none of the actors did bad, right? But I think it's Nolan North's performance as Joel in that scene is so much more powerful than Pedro Pascal's,
How
and
do you?
it
Sorry.
completely sells it. And you want to see, like, fuck, you've had me sitting here for 10 minutes and I've moved my character around with one stick the whole time. What the fuck are you gonna do for the next 10 hours? And then they don't disappoint you somehow. And that's why it's so great.
So, big question for you, and I'll go into my own thoughts on
Yes.
this a little bit, but it's going to be more coming from you.
Yeah.
The casting.
With the exception of Ellie, I think it is phenomenal. And
Really?
Ellie's, oh, absolutely. Uh, Tessa's character is not 100%, but they also have her visually a lot more beat up and kind of puffy than they did in the game. Um, and that's also kind of the problem where everybody looks a bit too well fed. Everybody's a bit too soft in the cheeks. In the game, everybody looks like on the verge of starving. And it really helps to sell the struggle that they're all going through, where it's just like even food isn't a guarantee in their lives. Um, yeah, Pedro Pascal is great. Tommy, who plays Tommy? Gabriel Luna is spitting fucking image. Same with Marlene. They did a phenomenal job with almost all of the cast. And it's really just Ellie that doesn't look quite right. And that's largely because, you are going to have to get what's basically an adult to play a child's role, and that's always going to be kind of awkward.
Yeah, there is something uncanny about Ellie, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying this is bad because, like, obviously the
Yeah,
actress is doing her best.
for sure.
Yeah. What the fuck is on
It
my screen?
It's fine. The main thing is, it's a 19-year-old playing basically a 14-year-old. It's never gonna look quite right, but it
Uh,
is totally serviceable for the story. And the rest of the cast is very well cast.
Dude, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Google The Last of Us TV series into Google.
The Last of Us. The Last of Us TV series. What about it?
Oh,
Oh,
do you
is
see
that
it?
right? Which part?
Go down a little bit and see if a little mushroom shows up.
A little mushroom. I don't see a mushroom. Oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, well played, Google.
I I did not expect that. If you
Oh,
Yeah,
did you click it?
I did.
That's really cool.
That's cute. I like that. So,
Yeah, it's good integration.
if you type in The Last of Us TV series, click on the little mushroom that comes up, your computer will get infected with spores.
I assume. Yeah, if you just search for The Last of Us, it comes up too.
That's cute.
That's fun.
Yeah. Okay, where
It'd be
were
real
we?
awkward if Google just fired 10,000 of their employees. They seem like really hardworking, honest people. I can't imagine they'd have good reason to lay any of them off. They wouldn't go see a private Sting concert paid for by their employers right beforehand, the day before they do that. That wouldn't happen.
Listen here, Kyril. The Obama administration was really fucking nice to tech companies, and things have not been nice to them since.
Yeah. They totally haven't posted record profits every quarter since.
Listen, government subsidiaries and DARPA have not been treating them well since Obama. They're on their last legs, don't you know?
Yeah. So, in closing, The Last of Us, episode 1. It's good.
What
I'm
would
excited
you
to see the next one tonight.
what would you rate it out of 10?
8, 8.5. Probably
8.5?
8.
I would probably rate it an 8 as well.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that we'll be
Like,
reviewing the show.
objectively, it's
Yeah.
an 8.
Yeah.
Subjectively, I would be bitter and probably call it a 7 or a 6. But it's an 8. It's very well done for the story it is telling. I just want it to tell a different one. Or not tell a different one. I want it to present the story in a different way. The best way that I can think of it, because I was trying to think of this for a while, is that it feels like watching a show on Broadway. First run, like first time Hamilton was out. You see it on Broadway, original cast. It's phenomenal. All the hype. And then, 5 years later, it's going on its like third or fourth run as it starts to get to the smaller circuits, and it's still the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's not quite as big of a stage. The props aren't quite right. The actors are good, phenomenal even, but they're not the same. It just feels wrong, and you
Diffused.
can't shake that wrongness.
Yeah.
But it is still very good if you look at it objectively.
It kind of interests me because I could tell when they were adapting the game pretty faithfully because I know the language of video games.
Mm.
And it also kind of caught me off guard when I realized the tropes of the language of television that I may not be as literate to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we talked about it when you and I were just like texting back and forth, um, where we were discussing the whole process with the car scene where they're in the truck and how that looks like it's straight out of a video game.
Mm-hmm. Because it is.
Yeah.
They did a great job with that scene. It is. Spinning image. Very well done. I was very impressed by how I'd love to see the set for that, to see how they have the camera position to get that very tight over the shoulder. Feels like you're looking from the inside of the truck out perspective because it was very good.
I don't know how you could have done that. That's really
I
hard.
don't know.
Yeah.
It was really good. I figure it must have been on like a fake set
Yeah.
with either heavy CG or um, something like that. I don't know, because like they didn't burn a real house down,
Yeah. I was
but
worried at
it
first
was
when I was seeing
very
the
effective.
CG. Yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless, The Last of Us, more like, can I have some more of us, please? That was really bad.
Hmm. I'll say, if I could do like one rewrite, it would be when Joel and Tess got to the top of that ladder after they're climbing up trying to sneak around to where Robert is.
Yeah.
And they push open the door and the body falls to the side and they see that it's Robert dead, right?
Yeah.
If I could rewrite one thing, it would be in that scene. The body they push over isn't Robert's. Robert is like sitting there, bleeding out, very obviously about to die. And they see the battery, they see the battery's garbage, and then they shoot Robert. He's already dead for all intents and purposes, but they put the last bullet in him
That's
just to
funny.
show that bit of character.
Yeah.
Because that really did feel like it was missing for me. That characterization.
I do like the practical effects they did for Grandma when the spores were coming out of her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a
That was
nerd for
good.
shit like
It
that.
was good stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not how they did it in the game.
Yeah.
It was very effective. Though I will say, I showed this to my parents for one because I want them to watch it because it's good still. And I saw a discussion on this online that having it look so much like hair, I saw from multiple people that they thought it was just like the person eating the hair of the dead person.
Okay.
And I could get that how that would get confused with the dark lighting and heavy shadows.
Yeah. The one thing I did want was I want to see her in better lighting.
Yeah,
Like they've shown what clickers look like in this series, like in the trailers. I just want more of that. They
I
look
think
like
so.
Del
Yeah.
Taro monsters, and I want more Del Taro monsters. Toro
Hmm.
monsters. Eh.
I'll be interested to see how they do it because the big thing with the uh, clickers in the game is that they are, obviously they're bitey, right?
No,
But
no, no.
they don't have like feelers and shit sticking out of their mouths. Most of it is like growths on top of the head around the brain.
Yeah.
So that's a very different design direction that I think they're going to need to explore and explain more before they can sort of just like brush past it to show because these zombies clearly work differently and they have already put the emphasis on trying to explain them. So I want them to do that right.
These zombies built different.
Yeah, they are.
So, as a fan of these like prosthetic looks and whatnot,
Mhm.
will I be able to expect some in the next episode?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank God. I just want
what
more of
what
them.
should happen in the next episode is now that they're outside of the quarantine zone, they should start to show what it looks like when because they showed that chart where it was just like infection that then they showed that was a really cool detail actually that they had that wasn't in the game was they showed all the people with amputated fingers and limbs, right?
Yeah.
That is a really good detail showing that like yeah, you get bitten on your hand and you cut your hand off, you as a person will live. And that wasn't something they had in the game. It was probably in the universe. They just didn't show it because there wasn't such an easy way to show it through. Because there's no B-roll in a video game, right? You're always from the main character perspective.
That is
So that
something
was really good.
I'm sorry. Something I'm
No,
worried about
please.
is that since this is a video game adaptation and you're always with the main character in a video game, what are
Yeah.
they going to do for their B plots? Because television usually requires a B plot of some kind, which they
Mm-hmm.
kind of got away with in the last episode because you had Joel and Ellie's perspectives or Sarah's perspective. So, how are they going to do that B story that television usually requires nowadays?
I hope they just don't
Okay.
break convention, right?
Yeah.
The Last of Us the game redefined what it meant to tell a story in a video game. And I would like to see them embrace that, right?
Yeah.
And rather than follow the convention of telling, producing a show, have it be its own thing. There is more than enough events that happen in the game that if they pace it right, they should be able to just keep with the pacing of the game.
Okay.
And if they need to do that, the easy way is you just split up Ellie and Joel.
I mean, that's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I feel like that would get annoying, but I don't know too much about how that would work. I'm not much, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what to expect from their relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they should start to explore that a bit more in the coming episodes.
Okay.
So, from the trailer, there's a lot of things that happen, scene by scene, where being familiar with the game, I can sort of piece together like, oh yeah, that's clearly from this scene, and that's clearly from that scene, and oh, that's clearly an original piece that wasn't in the game. And it's just going to come down to how they end up piecing it together, what they were able to keep, what they had to get rid of. And hopefully they were able to just sort of keep as much as possible.
Was your controversial part in the trailers at all?
No, it
Oh,
was not.
shit. Okay. Interesting.
I can go back and double check, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. That's about it.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to get off your chest while we have the mics on?
No, not today. I think that's enough.
Okay.
Enough for today.
Well,
There's 8 more chances, right?
8 more chances. I'm Professor Ryan, and I need a doctor.
And I'm Cairo, and I've been a schmo.
This has been the Two Schmo Show. Baby. We still need to find out what to call this review series, like The Last of Schmoes or The Schmo of Us.
The Schmoes of Us. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's not like full metal schmoes when we did that in college.
Yeah.
This is not as easy. We'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.